Welcome to Coaching in Session.
where limits end and growth begins.
Hosted by Michael Rearden.
This is your space to challenge the ordinary
Unlock your potential
and step boldly into your next chapter.
Your mindset journey continues.
When was the last time you took a look at your family? The friends that you call brothers and sisters, the aunts and uncles that could be your mother or your father, the co-workers that might be a disjointed cousin. I mean, we can go down the list of all the possible family members. But sometimes when it comes to family, whether it is our blood or whether it's our adopted family, we can either look at it as a blessing or we can see it as a curse. I talked about family in the terms of blood last year, where it's important that we bring up what family is. Family is one of those things that if you have a support system, mindset becomes easy. Of course, mindset in itself can be challenging and difficult if you have to do it yourself. But when you have a support system or a belief system, family is just one of those pieces of the puzzle that just seems right. However, today in our world, family is one of the things that we will get rid of quicker than swiping right or left on a reel. Maybe we weren't enticed by it. Maybe it didn't catch our attention. Maybe it's not for us at the moment. So we are just going to leave it by the waysides, thinking that it will always be there. And rightfully so. Your family is not going to go anywhere, place very quickly. It could take time, whether it be moving, whether it be the lifespan of a loved one, or it be just this idea of what family truly is. Now, before we go into family too much, I want to talk about the word home. Home is a place that we can say that if I am in a building that I'm renting or a place of residence, I can call this my home. Maybe it's a temporary abode, but typically home is going to be where you reside and where you feel the safest. However, home today can be full of mayhem, distractions, and a lot of negativity. The word home has lost its power the same way that family has lost its power. Because if we had a home, then we can create a family. If we had a family, then we can live in a home. Some people say that I make a house a home. How do you do that? How do you make the house a home? Do you not yell? Do you not scream? Do you support? Do you not antagonize? Do you have faith? What is it that makes a house a home? Well, we can say it's family, but that is going to be a myth that can be very quickly debunked. Because when I was living in an apartment, I was living by myself. I had a 2-1. It was a very nice apartment. I had the best view in all of Austin, I think. There was no buildings behind my apartment. There was a balcony that would stretch with views of just treetops. And it was beautiful. Of course, there's a lot of pollen in the springtime, but it was something that I can go outside and just see nature. Even though I was in the city, I had my piece of the forest, my piece of tranquility. And whenever I left to go to work or I left to go to the store, I would come home. Even though there was no one there to greet me, my dog was already living with my mom because she needed another dog for her other dog because they were friends and the other dog was lonely. So what was happening was I was by myself. Of course, I had my occasional company on the weekends and it was nice. And I just look forward to solace, to quiet time. Of course, we had a family text going on, and we still do, where we would talk about all of the issues, all of the problems, if we're coming up, when is what's for Christmas, etc. We would talk about all the little things. It was a very light conversation. But somewhere along the way, and as the years went by, the conversation began to evolve. It was no longer a light conversation. It was one of heavy conversations with burdens and a lot of challenges and problems that needed to be addressed. The family that I left when I left Connecticut, and now I'm here in Texas, it seemed to be falling apart at the seams. And you have to ask yourself, how could you leave something perfectly and one day look back at it and it's in tatters? Well, the thing about life, the thing about people, the thing about home is that it's going to constantly change. It's going to constantly evolve. For example, the home that I'm living in. When I first moved into the home, everything was beautiful, brand new paint, new appliances, and it was a very nice place. All the walls were clean, and now we fast forward 6 years, 7 years, and the walls are dirty. The windowsills have divots in them from my son slamming his cars on it. And I just have to ask myself, can a home truly be perfect? You move into a home, you make it perfect for yourself. You have an apartment, you make it perfect for yourself. And then all of a sudden, kids come and they're kids. They write on the walls and they are not picking up their toys. They're spilling juice on the carpet. And you have to ask, like, man, am I going to always have to buy a new carpet every single year? Am I always going to have to paint my walls every other month? The reality starts to set in that a perfect space when you have family can be a mindset rather than the practical materialistic feel of it. I would rather having my kids run around, write on the walls, and me saying, don't write on the walls, and them spill up juice and I have to clean it, than for them just to be sitting very still, reading a book and speaking all proper and not making any mistakes and not being joyous. That is not what I want. I want the joy. I want the mayhem. I want the crazy. And if you know anything about my family, we are, not me so much, my family can be hectic. It's always a drama. It's always a problem. But it makes sense. I talked about this in group 7 of my group episodes of the podcast with the gentleman. We talked about my family. We talked about different situations that were happening. And one of the things I said about my family was that we were functionally dysfunctional. And it's so true. We are functionally dysfunctional. It's like, this should not work, but it's working. Think of a bad relationship, a toxic relationship. And you have this toxic relationship. You know it's not good, but for some reason, it just works. You just take two opposites and it just works. It's very interesting how family evolves. Growing up, we had many examples of family. From our sitcoms to just real family, my grandparents and my aunts and my uncles and my friends, their parents. Like, marriage was a thing that lasted rather than a thing that was temporary. So for me, it was easy to say that marriage is something that's long lasting. Yet, I can't tell you how many people I've helped through divorce. I can't tell you how many people they break up for the smallest little things. I can't tell you how much people are yearning for real love, but yet they are not real to the love that they're inviting into their life. It's almost like what's that plant that creates that aroma? It's like the Venus flytrap, and it creates a beautiful aroma. It's very sweet. It's very subtle, and the flies and the insects, they love this smell. Well, that smell leads them to their death, because as they're there and they're becoming intoxicated from this wonderful smell, the Venus flytrap is closing, and eventually it traps the animal or the insect. Typically, it's not going to be an animal. Sometimes there is, like, very, very small ones, but they are enticed by that aroma. Most people are enticed by the aroma of great things happening in their life. They love the goodness of the family, the love, it feels good, the Thanksgivings, the Christmas. That might feel good, and even though it's hectic, even though it can be crazy and chaotic, we appreciate it. Now, going back to the mindset of, I was talking about sitcoms and how we grew up with just marriage being forefront, I think it's a very strong point that today we don't have as much of that. And if we do, it's so subtle. And I'm going to explain how subtle it is. Growing up, we had many different types of sitcoms. We had Boys Meet World, we had Family Matters, we had Full House, and this idea of family coming together. It wasn't so much of we're blood, since we're blood, we're family. It's about people coming together who live in the same household or around in the neighborhood or just go to the same school or are in the vicinity, whatever it be. But they handle problems together. They work through life together. And you have to ask yourself, if my family can help me work through life together, how far can we go? Because when we are being in our adolescence, we're taught essentially to separate from the family. When you go to school, it's training to have your child separate from the family. And if you have them in school 5 days out of the week, guess what? There's going to be 5 days and maybe 7 to 8 hours a day, if not longer, where your child is being raised by someone else. Their values, their cultures, their systems, not the families. And at some point, they learn an independence. Because when they were young and they were children and they were running around, writing on your walls and putting divots in your windowsills with their cars, they were always looking for mommy and daddy to come save them. And at some point, they are brave enough to save themselves. Well, we know that we want them to become brave and to save themselves and to be self-reliant and self-sufficient. That's the growing up process. We are coaching ourselves, parents are coaching themselves out of being parents, out of being the sole responsibility to this child, right? Eventually they become an adult. Yeah, sure, we are still their parent, but the responsibility and the role become very different. Yeah, sure, we can listen to them when they have some problems. We can support them financially if they find some struggle or a situation that they have a hard time handling. All of this is a possibility. But family is one of the things that have become a resource or have become fundamentally obsolete. Think of it as CD players or cassette players or 8-track players. All of these things were once the thing. Like, these are popular. These are the hits. Like, you're not going to get anything better than this. And all of a sudden we get DVDs for our movies. So we're no longer in VHS. And now we're in the digital world where everything is digital. We can stream. Who would have thought that we would have this? Because I was over there in my teens when DVDs were around. I was like, I can't wait to get my house and have a whole thing of DVDs. And I'm just thinking now, how much clutter would those DVDs be? Like, that's too much. It's too many. And sure, we can look at if the world ended and there was no more electronics or digital or streaming. We can look at our VHSs and our DVDs if we still have them. And we could say, I'm glad I have these things so I can utilize them still while everyone else is literally being bored out of their minds because they don't know how to sit with themselves. All of this is to say that as we grow up, we're going to be presented with challenges. Challenges are going to be maybe someone didn't like us, someone didn't like our post, today, social media. We have relationship problems. We have health problems. I mean, we can say whatever we want or anything can happen, right? You have to ask yourself, who would the people in your life be that care about you the most if something bad were happening to you? Would it be your coworkers? Would it be your friends? Would it be your family? I think it's important that you understand this dynamic, because if you know it's neither, then you're living a lonely life. If you're living with this aspect of coworkers, pay attention to what they do if someone else is struggling, because you don't have to live the experience yourself. You can see it firsthand from someone else that is going through a hardship. How are the management treating them or other people? Is it a supportive environment, right? Culture is a very big thing in work today. People would choose culture over a paycheck, meaning they would take a lower salary and be in the right culture for themselves long term than to have a higher paying salary. So this is to say that a lot of people care about culture. They care about what people are doing to other people at the workplace. Even though you might hate your job, at least you don't have a boss or a coworker that is just very challenging to deal with. And not saying that you might not have one here and there, but typically the culture is going to weed out the people who don't belong. So culture can be a big thing. Let's say something happened at your workplace and your boss basically gave you a fruit basket and it said, "Hey, I'm sorry for your loss." And in the fruit basket were some apples and bananas, grapes, but then there was also some mixed nuts in there, right? Well, let's say that you had a severe allergy to nuts. Now you're thinking in your mind, does this person not even know me and I've been here for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it be, that I'm highly allergic to nuts? And if I would eat one, I would die. And even though it could be a bit of oversight, the people who truly care, they understand. This is your workplace. Oftentimes it's temporary. If you get fired, you just get replaced by someone else. That's the system. They don't just say, "Oh, sorry to see you go," and they never fill the spot, right? Because there's a void that can't be filled. Not saying that you're not a good worker, but it's the idea that in a workplace, typically you can be replaced. Now we're looking at a friend dynamic. It's the same thing. You can be replaced by your friends. You can replace your friends. Oftentimes people, when they have trouble with their family, they will find a friend group, a like-minded group where they can cohabitate with people. And even if it's not perfect, it's good or better than the family system. Now, I say this not because the family system is bad, but because some people do not honor the family system in the way that a family system should be honored. We should honor our father. We should honor our mother. We should honor our grandparents. Those are the people that are responsible for our life. If my grandmother wasn't born or my grandfather wasn't born, I would not be born. If they didn't do what they did and had a family, I would not be here. Maybe I would be a different person, right? I'll be a different person if it wasn't that person. But the reality is lineage, the legacy is so important, and we don't realize how important it is. We care about our life. We care about what we do every single day. And it's nice, right? We get to choose. Oh, yes, I get to go on my phone. I get to watch the movies. I get to enjoy outside and go to the park or go to the movies. All of these are wonderful things. But when we're looking at what family truly means, can we define that? So I want to do an exercise with you. When it comes to family, what are some of the first things you think about? And I want you to select 3. I want you to think about your family. I want you to say, my family is a peaceful place. My family is chaotic. My family is trustworthy. My family is unorganized, right? A lot of negativities. My family is happy, is joyous, is honorable, accountable, right? Good values, right? Good systems, right? There's a saying that we come from good stock, where if you have a good support system from your family or any environment that you're in growing up, that you're going to be in a better place long term. This is why when you look at the statistics for, let's say, lower income families and higher income families, how the higher income families, their siblings or, their lineage, their children do amazing things. It's not so much that it's in the blood and it's in the DNA that all of these people are just amazing and they're going to be these prolific, talented individuals that are so gifted. It's not that. It's the mindset, it's the environment that happens while they're growing up. They see the family system. They see how supportive it can be or how destructive it can be. And of course, there's going to be good and bad from both sides, from the low and the high. But we can look at how more people from established families can go on and they can get a leg up, where it's almost like our parents pass us the baton and it's our responsibility for us to do better. Now, we can look at this generation that is coming up where the family businesses are not even being followed anymore. Most people don't want to carry on with family businesses or legacies. They want to do their own thing. They want to create their own thing. This dynamic is going to put a huge crutch in the dynamic of wealth and families today. Because if I am over here creating multi-million-dollar businesses and then my kid wants to do something different and start from zero, that right there is going to be, they have to take all the licks again. They have to go through all the hardships again. And not saying that they can't be successful. It's just, why do we have to reinvent the wheel every single time we try to do something? Family can be that system where we can try new things, or we can dive into things that have already been created. If the system is there, the only thing that needs to be done from us is a bit of guidance, is a bit of management. But yet there's so much oversight in people and what they expect from themselves and their life and their families, where it's to the point where people disown everything and just simply rely on themselves. They would tell a stranger more than they ever would their most loved people in their life, the people that they cherish. And one day those people are going to be gone. Our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents, maybe our brothers and our sisters. And we're going to be left. If we don't have any children, then what do we have left? Because we can go back to our apartment. We can have a pristine, clean place to reside. Of course, we can have a couple of dogs and cats and stuff like that to keep us company. But what is the true bond? Where does that lie? Is it going to be with your family, with your friends, or with the strangers you meet through work or just by passing by on the subways and the buses and your Ubers? All of this is to say that the dynamic of family is starting to tatter. And it is up to us to rekindle those bonds, to tape them back, to glue them back together, to piece everything to be one again. And one of the things we do here at Reven Concepts, and we do it quite well, is we help families get back to being one. We help families understand that it's not all about what is happening at every single moment. It is every single moment coming together and then everyone else sharing it and basking in it. Because everyone is going to have different experiences. We have to understand that. My son, my daughter, they're going to go different paths. And I have to be able to respect that. But in the meantime, as I am their parent and as I am helping them grow and develop, I'm doing my due diligence. I'm making sure they have what they need to be successful. So are they going to have a step up from other people? Sure, but that doesn't mean that they're better. It doesn't mean that the people who didn't have that can't succeed, because anyone can say, I won't try today. I won't get up today. I'm going to disown the people that have once cared for me because they caused me so much pain. They caused me so much anguish. They don't believe me, or they don't trust me, or they don't have faith in me. I mean, we can go along with all of the excuses of why we are not true to our heritage, our family, our legacy. But it's something that we have to look at, because the mindset of family business can lead to so much more into your life. Are we able to create something, or are we always just looking for the next thing? Are we moving so fast where we can't slow down and pay attention to the people that are getting old, that were once young, the people that we once admired and chased and called our heroes? Eventually, everything becomes a story. Not many people can remember the story of the past because they're so busy writing the story of their future. And not saying that we need to live in the past, but we must honor it. We must understand that it is a privilege to have that past there, because it's going to make us who we are. And if we can shape it correctly, our character, our values, our systems are going to help us in every step of the way. Family matters. What we do with our family matters. The little things can add up to the big things. So do your work today. If you haven't reached out to your parents, if they're still alive, say I love you. Say thank you. Your grandparents, same thing. Maybe people who you grew up with who helped you. Maybe you were adopted. You never knew your mom or your dad. Understand that maybe you can be the starting point. You can be that ground zero per se of, I'm going to be the best father. I'm going to be the best mother that I can be. Even with all the setbacks, even with all of the bad hands I was given, I'm going to choose something more. Choose something more today with your family. And you'll see that if you can understand the dynamic and the mindset correctly, you're going to propel yourself to a new way of life for not only yourself, but everyone you love.